Training camp is over, drafts are happening non-stop, and ADP is moving daily. If you're drafting from the 110 spot this year, or you just want to scout what your opponents might do, this is the video for you. I'm Tom Strachan, I've written hundreds of articles for Fantasy Pros this offseason, and I know exactly how I'm approaching that pick. Today we're going to break it down, which players are going to be available, who you should target, and who you might want to avoid. Let's dive in. First off, the good news, the 2025 first round feels really strong, even at the back end of drafts, so you're going to walk away with two quality players inside the first two rounds. The downside, yes, you are going to miss out on the very top tier talents, but trust me, there's a ton of upside at the 110. Players likely available at the 110. When you're on the clock, here are the names you'll probably be staring at: Malik Neighbors, Derrick Henry, Nico Collins, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So let's talk about which ones we're targeting. Malik Neighbors, one of the biggest breakout stars of 2024, Neighbors set the rookie receptions record with 109, only topped by Brock Bowers' 112. He finished as the wide receiver 6 last year, despite all the quarterback chaos around him, 4 different quarterbacks throwing him the ball. This season, he's got Russell Wilson, rookie Jackson Dart, or maybe Jameis Winston. None of them are elite, but all are upgrades over the mess from last year. Neighbors has very little competition for targets outside Wan'Dale Robinson, and he looks locked in as the top 6 wide receiver again. Nico Collins. Since 2023, no wide receiver has been better against man coverage and yards per route run. Last year, Collins started on fire. He was the wide receiver 2 overall through the first 5 weeks, averaging 21.6 fantasy points per game before a hamstring injury slowed him down. Tank Dell's going to miss the entire season. Christian Kirk often gets banged up. The rookies, who knows what they're going to bring. Nico Collins is a clear alpha. Here's an upside swing worth taking at 110. Derrick Henry, the king. He is 31, but don't let that scare you off completely. He racked up 1,953 all-purpose yards and 16 touchdowns last year. The red flag, yes, he had the lowest target share of any round 1 or 2 running back currently at just 4%. Still, though, he handled 90% of the Ravens' rush attempts inside the 5. That kind of goal line usage is absolutely gold. If your league is running back heavy, Henry makes a lot of sense. Otherwise, you might prefer to snag a wide receiver here and wait for round 2 running backs. Ashton Jeanty, the rookie. How much has been said about Ashton Jeanty this offseason? His college profile, it puts him in the same conversation as Saquon Barkley coming out. He averaged over 6 yards per carry at Boise. He's a strong pass catcher and now lands in Las Vegas as a projected 300 touch player. Geno Smith at quarterback, who targets running backs at the 8th highest rate in 2024. I think Jeanty could absolutely smash right away. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, St. Brown is divisive at this pick. Some worry about Jameson Williams' breakout potential and Sam Laporta's rise, but here are the facts. 140 targets each of the last 3 years. His touchdowns have increased every single year he's been in the NFL, hit a career high 12 last year. Back-to-back years finishing as wide receiver 3 in total fantasy points. I've cooled on taking St. Brown earlier in the first round because he is volume dependent, but at the back end of drafts, he's a reasonable and reliable pick for this late. Players to avoid. Puka Nacua. Nacua has been incredible, but there is a real risk here. The Rams moved on from Cooper Kupp and are betting on Puka. But Matthew Stafford's health, it looms large. If Stafford goes down, you're looking at Jimmy Garoppolo, and we know how that goes. Nacua averages 6.6 receptions per game, but has had only 9 touchdowns across 2 seasons. Without Stafford, that ceiling takes a big hit. At 110, you don't want that kind of uncertainty. Brian Thomas Jr. Thomas was an absolute league winner down the stretch in 2024 with 10 touchdowns, but touchdowns aren't always sticky year to year. Travis Hunter's joining the offense, and even though he might play slightly less than we'd like, he is going to eat into some of Thomas's target competition compared to the likes of the players who were there last year. Let's also remember that when Brian Thomas really broke out, it was with Mac Jones at quarterback and not Trevor Lawrence. He's a top 15 pick, but not over guys like Neighbors, St. Brown, or Collins. Devin Achan. Achan led all running backs with 78 catches, 591 receiving yards, and 6 receiving touchdowns last year. He also handled 70% of Miami's carries inside the 5. The issue? Injuries, man. He's already dealing with a calf injury this offseason. He has a history of missed time. Achan, we know he has league-winning upside, but for a first rounder, you want someone who can stay on the field. Roster construction from the 110. So how are you going to build from this spot? If you start wide receiver, say Nico Collins, you can come back in round 2 and grab running backs like Bucky Irving or Achan. You'll also still have access to the top quarterbacks and even some of the tight ends like George Kittle in the 3rd round, Jaden Daniels in the 3rd or 4th round. If you start running back like Derrick Henry or Ashton Jeanty, then Drake London or AJ Brown in round 2 makes plenty of sense. I think that it's a good year to start with 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, and try and be balanced through those first 2 rounds. We're going to use Fantasy Pros Draft to mock draft, it's insanely customizable. You can sync your leagues to it and automatically copy your settings, and then it'll adjust the rankings for that league. You choose which expert rankings and insights you see, including mine, which are part of the expert consensus rankings of over 100 people from across the industry. No waiting around for other people, nobody taking 6 kickers. Instead, we mock draft very quickly and get feedback from top experts. Check out the link in the description below to start your mock drafts right now. So we're going to use the 2025 season half PPR snake draft, picking from the 10 spot. 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 1 tight end. 1 flex, 1 kicker, and 1 defense. So pretty normal stuff that you'll see in many home league drafts. Nothing too crazy. So as you can see, the draft's underway with Jamar Chase, Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, CD Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Malik Neighbors, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey. So Malik Neighbors does go earlier in this one, but that leaves us Nico Collins, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Puka Nacua, Brian Thomas, and Ashton Jeanty to start with. For this one, I'm going with my conviction play, and that is Nico Collins. I just think that he's really primed to potentially be the wide receiver 1 overall this year. Then in the second round, we've got a choice of Drake London, Devon Achane, AJ Brown, Brock Bowers, Jonathan Taylor are the top contenders for me. Much as I said that I think this is a good year to start balanced, I love Drake London this year, so let's start with Drake London and see if we can fill out the running back room to a decent degree. When it comes back around, George Kittle is still on the board, so I'll take him and push that running back situation just a little bit further, and then we can take Kenneth Walker in round 4. The foot injuries have been putting people off, but I still think that he's got a really high upside and that we can build a roster around that. In round 5, we can see that the wide receivers are starting to become more question marks. I'm going to take Tony Pollard. Tajay Spears is now on IR and is going to miss at least the first 4 games. That's going to just clear the runway for Tony Pollard to get off to a really strong start. Round 6, Jameson Williams seems absolutely primed for a bigger role this year. Really believe that he can truly break out. A lot of smart people in on him, and I'm happy to take the dice roll there. In round 7, running back is starting to thin out a little bit, so let's reach down and take J.K. Dobbins, who should start the season at the very least as the RB1 and have good flex value throughout the season. In round 8, I'm still not looking at tight end or quarterback just yet. I'm happy to push quarterback further, and obviously we've got George Kittle, so we don't need another tight end. I'm going to take Emeka Egbuka here at round 8. He's not the highest recommended player, but look, I think Emeka Egbuka is going to start the season incredibly hot and has huge upside and could be a real volume merchant. In round 9, I'm starting to think about quarterback in this tier, and I wouldn't mind stacking Brock Purdy with George Kittle. But the team at the 12 spot does have Joe Burrow, so let's see if we can push it past the team at the 11 spot and see what we can get. Instead, I'm going to the running back position. I'm taking Tyler Algier. I think he is the running back backup with the most upside in the league. Finished 10th in juke rate, 7th in explosive run rate last year. A real game changer when he gets volume. So Brock Purdy does make it back around to us, so we'll take him here. I think Purdy's going to pass the ball at a huge rate this year because I don't think the Niners secondary is going to be particularly good. Through 10 rounds, we've got 4 wide receivers and we've got 4 running backs. So fairly balanced. Obviously, we've got the onesie positions taken care of with George Kittle and Brock Purdy. So now that we're building out depth, I'm going to take a flyer on Ollie Gordon. I mentioned the Devon Achane calf injury doesn't feel great, and Ollie Gordon feels like a running back who could get a decent amount of work if an opportunity arrives. In round 12, we'll take Rashad Bateman as our wide receiver 5. I mean, look, what more does the guy need to do? He had career highs across the board last year, was excellent, really became a red zone weapon as well, and I'm happy to have him as my 5th wide receiver. Well, one last pick before we're getting into the defense and kicker. So let's take Woody Marks. Maybe Nick Chubb ends up getting the majority of the rushing work in Houston, but I think Woody Marks does what we want most in fantasy, and that's catches the ball. I'm always team wait on defense and kicker, and I'll just prioritize defense slightly. We'll take the Texans because they have a really nice unit and plenty of good players, and I think they could be in the mix for some high-scoring defensive games this year. And then at kicker, we'll round out with Evan McPherson. Had a bit of a disappointing year last year, but I'm sure he can turn it around again. B- from a mock draft wizard. If we click through, we can see our full analysis on this one. So the mock draft wizard has us projected for the 8th highest scoring team. I'm not going to lie, that one stings a little bit. I thought this was probably a better team than that. The mock draft wizard saying that if we drafted Mike Evans higher at 310 and drafted a tight end later, your score would have been 29 points higher. I don't disagree necessarily with the idea of drafting Mike Evans, but look, I like Emeka Egbuka multiple rounds later. Sleeper alert, they say that J.K. Dobbins is the number 1 running back in the consensus sleeper rankings. According to this, we reached on Tyler Algier in the 9th round, 3 rounds earlier than he's ranked. And we also reached on Ollie Gordon in the 11th round, 3 rounds earlier than he's ranked. Look, sometimes you just got to get you guys, and I think those were the guys that helped me the most with this roster construction, so I'm okay with it. We finished out with Nico Collins, Drake London, George Kittle, Kenneth Walker, Tony Pollard, Jameson Williams, J.K. Dobbins, Emeka Egbuka, Tyler Algier, Brock Purdy, Ollie Gordon, Rashad Bateman, Woody Marks, Houston Texans defense, and Evan McPherson. So that is how I am approaching the 110, and I feel like that was a pretty solid team that I'd be happy with going into the season. What would you have done differently? Who are you hoping lands to you at the 110? Make sure you hit the subscribe button because we've got loads of these for every draft slot. We've got loads of draft strategy on the channel. Go and check out this video where Matthew Berry, where he talked about some players that he's just avoiding or targeting at ADP.